what would you say is like the Cubs' philosophy in terms of buying, trading, and like getting rid of players? So like their overall approach to like roster building almost. Because I think it's interesting to like round that out because I think that that's how you actually can predict what they'll do at deadlines in free agency in the future with this team. Because this is what I think it is. I think that they are very confident in their pitching infrastructure. That they do not spend huge dollar amounts on the bullpen. I think that they have flipped from position players to scouting better for starting pitching. But then if you look in the minor league system, there are a lot of position players that they still hit pretty often.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like going into free agency, I think that they're extremely aggressive with that middle tier. Like they do whatever they can to be in the talk about the top, and they will. Like they're going to give an offer, but they know that like once those come off the board, they value 2 or 3 middle tier guys opposed to one superstar.
Yes,
which in some ways like is good, but I mean, you look at this lineup and it's like we're hoping Seiya Suzuki becomes a superstar, but then after that, it's like Bellinger's a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but he has his flaws. He's not like the top, 10, 15 in the league.
Yeah.
So,
and
that's how I kind of.
And on that front, I would almost argue the fact that they target that middle tier so well because that's how they got Shota.
Yeah, no, it's not a knock. It's just more or less like.
No, I agree. I'm just saying. Like I think it's the case of like they target that middle tier in terms of. I can't believe he was fucking safe on that play.
Yeah, I can't either. That's I was waiting for him to challenge it.
I can't believe they hit on Shota the way they did with a 4-year, $53 million guaranteed contract that can be 5 to 80, which is still a steal for what Shota has produced this year. Like, yes, he's an older player. He's a veteran. That he's going to be 35 when that contract's done if he gets to the 5th year. But like the Cubs, to answer your question, Juice, the Cubs to me are the we build from within and we wait on what we want to do mindset. Is they want to draft well, which I think they have so far under the Jed Hoyer regime. It's a very different regime than it was under Theo. Like it's very much night and day, in my opinion, between the two.
I agree.
But it was right. Hit on the position players, go pay for pitching. Now it's develop pitching, use that pitching as an asset, whether that becomes via trade down the road, whether that's, just getting guys to the majors and not having to pay big dollars for pitching. I mean, Kyle Hendricks is your highest paid pitcher on the staff this season at 16, or pardon me, it's Jameson Tyone at $18 million. You don't have a pitcher over $20 million. And there's pitchers around the league that are getting paid in the 30s. So that's effectively a win in a lot of ways, right? And then they go out and they pay for the position players that they feel like they need, because that part of the process to me is still coming along. Because if you really look at it, outside of James Triantos and Cade Horton, a lot of those top guys they acquired via trade.
Well, yeah.
Their pipeline. Right?
Yeah.
The Kevin Alcantaras, the PCAs.
That are hitting.
That are hitting, right. That's what I mean.
Okay.
In terms of hitters. Like, a lot of their hitters.
Yeah, they've drafted Pitt. That's been their philosophy, I think. I think they're moving.
Yes.
It's a nice transition because I did my first look at the draft. I think this is the year that they picked the position player with their top pick.
And I agree with. And in fairness, they picked the position player with their top pick last year, and Matt Shaw as well.
Yeah.
So, like, they're not afraid to do it, but, like, every single year we sit here and look at their 20-round, pool at the end of the day, and it's 12, 15, the 1 year. Yeah, the 1 year, 15 pitchers out of the 20
That was last year, right? They pitched.
I think it was. Yeah, it was either last year or 2 years ago. It was one of the last years.
Yeah, they went pitching.
They did a lot of pitching. Yeah, they did a lot of pitching. I think this past year wasn't as bad because they took Pasiola in the 3rd this past year. He's down in Myrtle Beach
That's
playing
right.
some meaningful playing time down there.
It was the year before, though.
It was the year before. The year before they took Cade, then they took
I didn't take it. And then they traded Jackson Ferris.
Jackson Ferris. And then they went on a run. I don't think they took their first position player until like the 8th or 9th round of that draft. That draft was crazy. But again, I think they are very much like we build from within. We will spend what we want to spend, and if a player agrees to that, we'll do it. But they're trying to, how do I put this? They're trying to
needle?
No, they're always trying to give themselves the flexibility to get out of something bad when it goes bad.
Yep.
That's what it is. They always have a fail safe. That's what it is. Because they don't. Yes. Honest to God, that's exactly what it is. It's the PTSD of the Jason Hayward contract is what shakes.
Which is what keeps them from getting a big time splash.
But they gotta get over
that. I would make the argument though. I would make the argument though that Jason Hayward at that time was a move that was more calculated for the sense of a team ready to win now than it was for him being the big splash free agent. Because yes, he was a good player and he was the best available free agent that year, but he wasn't a true superstar. He wasn't Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto or one of those players. He was never that. Even if you look at the stats, he was never that player. He was just a really, really, really good player that fit an absolute need that they had because right field was a gong show with Jorge Soler defensively. They needed a top guy out there with some veteran leadership because they were a super young team, and they went after it. They did it. And I'll tell you what, if you told me that they would get the World Series again, I would tell them to go pay that money. Yeah, it's fine.
Especially after 2 series in, you lose a guy like Kyle Schwarber.
Yes. But so I think that's where it is right now is the sense of like, now they're like, hey, we'll go take the calculation. I think they truly made a good run at Shohei. It's just nobody was going to beat the Dodgers in that sweepstakes. The whole time, the Dodgers were the favorite for good reason because he wanted to stay in LA and he wanted to get paid. And there's no better place to go than the LA Dodgers. Now, if you look at like Sasaki coming out of Japan next year, I think the Cubs are very much in play for that next year. I think even in the Juan Soto conversation, I think if they could make the dollars work and positionally it made sense, I think they would be in play for that type of move. What a catch by PCA.
That was a great catch. Hey,
like,
let me ask you something then about that. Because you brought up Juan Soto and Juice to kind of go on with, you were talking about they need to get over the whole getting out of the
Hayward contract.
Getting out of like those the little catch fall contracts and stuff like that. Okay. Which I would love it if they went after a guy like Juan Soto. At the end of the day, I still think I just think New York's going to end up like, giving them the whole entire bank of New York and just this and that. But let's just say, there was a chance for the Cubs to go after Juan Soto. Could you guys see the Cubs more doing as far as going after a guy like Juan Soto, what you pretty much have in Juan Soto? Yeah, it's going to cost you $500 million. Or could you see them being like, and I don't even know who
you think it actually costs $500 million to get Soto? Honest question.
He's going to want. He has Scott Boras as his agent, and Scott Boras is pissed that he doesn't have the client with the top contract. He is going to ask for that shit. The highest ever.
I agree.
In the history of baseball.
And he's going to, Could you guys see them making a move towards Juan Soto as far as a $500+ million deal? Or, and like I said, I don't know who you would do that on this roster right now, doing we're not going to do that, but we're going to give one of our young guys a nice 5-6 year contract, and we're going to keep him here, blah blah blah. He's kind of like what the Brewers did with their rookie they had last year. You know what I mean? Sure, I could see the Cubs doing something more on that side than going after a guy like Juan Soto. Kind of like with Juice, what you said, and kind of Ron, with the Hayward contract.
But who are they doing that with?
Exactly. I don't know who they do that with. But
you know who I'd make the argument they could do that with, but he has to get time this year at the major league level? Owen Casey.
Owen Casey.
Yeah. Owen Casey. Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. 100%.
To me, that's the guy because
But
he's
basically,
shown incredible
could you
prowess
see
as a
that though?
youngster.
Would you be like more like if you had to bet on one or the other? Would you bet more on them extending a guy like an Owen Casey, or hey, let's give the bank to Juan Soto?
I think they're on the train of they want the surefire bet,
Yep.
which in this case, in this example that you're giving, Tyler, it's Juan Soto.
For sure.
Like he's shown he's a almost 300 hitter, and he'll hit a bunch of bombs and he'll walk a lot, and his OPS is gonna or his OBP is gonna be like video game numbers.
Oh, he's a
That's
Hall of
what
Fame.
he is. Yeah. I think they would be more inclined to do that. And again, I think they gave a legitimate offer to Ohtani. I truly do. It just he was going to LA because the Dodgers were going to pay him whatever it took because of that market. So I would make the argument they're going to be right back in that with Soto if they really want Soto. Like if they're like, yes, we need Juan Soto. He's a part of this future. He's young. We want him. He's great. Whatever it takes. I think they'll do it. I think the Cubs are aggressive.
He's left field, right?
Left, right. He's a corner outfielder. He plays right currently for the Yankees. But to me, the Cubs are calculated with when they get aggressive. And it has to be a player like Juan Soto or Ohtani that they get aggressive with. And it might not work in their favor. It doesn't mean they didn't get aggressive. Yeah. Like I fully believe that the Cubs got in on the Ohtani sweepstakes and actually gave it a run.
That just means in September, when the Yankees come to town, everyone in the bleachers, guys, be on your best behavior. If Juan Soto's in left or he's in right,
he'll be in right.
Respectful.
Right field sucks. They don't heckle people. He'll be just fine.
Okay.
I'm going to say this, though.
Verdugo left's going to get it.
Oh, he's going to get it bad.
I've
actually looked at those tickets today. I don't know.
Whoever they target to be the guy that they're going to go after next offseason is, in my opinion, becoming the redemption Bryce Harper contract. Like
I hope so. I hope you're right, Juice. I hope you're
your
so
guy,
right.
There should be no excuse because at that point you're looking at a farm system that's another year matured, a team that is, on the cusp and ready to cement themselves as a division every year. And if you think that Juan Soto is that missing piece, it better be the redemption to the Bryce Harper contract during COVID.
It better be. So. I really do.
Because if it's not, then
what are we doing?
I mean, there comes a point where you need to understand that putting him in the middle of this lineup only makes people around him better.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's why I look at this lineup. I'm like, I love Seiya Suzuki. I think he's a great player. I love Cody Bellinger. I think he's a good player. I like Dansby Swanson. But you know what? When the Braves won their World Series, Dansby Swanson hit like 8th.
Yeah, he was their 8-hole hitter.
I think he was 6, but same.
It's just
if he's not hitting 3 through 5, he's not like one of your top tier guys.
Yeah.
That's how I say, or 2 through 5.
He's a defensive player that runs into one every once in a while. That's just what he is.
Like you can even argue, like on a World Series team, is Christopher Morel your 4-hitter?
I think he's the wild card.
Maybe it's too soon. It's too soon to tell. Yeah, maybe it's too soon to tell. I think
he's the wild card in all of this.
But
he would be the one that if you're going to throw an extension out,
he would be the one.
Yeah.
Especially depending on how the rest
I like that a lot.
I do too.
Because to me, his bat speed's so elite, and his grasping at the position of third base is getting so much better that I think he's just going to ascend from here.
Yeah, and he's still young enough. He's 25? Yeah. He turns 26, I think, this season. Actually, sorry, he turned 26 on Friday.
I think he's hurt. I think he's been playing hurt most of the season.
He has.
Yeah, he's got that finger thing. He's got a bunch of things he's been working.
He turns 26 on Friday, May 17th, if I remember correctly. This is my weird, sick mind remembering stupid shit for no reason. Here we go. Hold on. He turns 25. He's still 24. He will turn 25 on Friday against the Pirates. That's his birthday, May 17th.
Nice.
So he's just going to be turning 25. A guy that arguably this season has 40 home run potential. That was my spicy pick for the preseason show. I mean, if this guy gets hot when the weather warms up here in Chicago, because we truly haven't had real warm weather yet, confirm. I'm dealing with going outside and being like, it's a little chilly out here.
Cool near the lake.
It is cooler near the lake. But like when we get into real like hot weather Chicago, that dude might run into like 6 games type stuff.
He's done it.
If
I mean, he's done it before, hasn't he?
There is your I love that. When we're sitting here looking at prospects. No. Morel's your guy that
and he does. I would say he does that.
Number.
He does that to kind of bank off of Scott from Iowa, which we've been talking about this. I think that's the first thing I talked about when I got on here as far as Bregman. He does that. The whole Bregman thing. I think I'm out on that, and I'm more on. Yeah, definitely go out after Juan Soto for sure. But then maybe instead of going after a guy like Bregman, you go after a guy like Pete Alonso.